Yeah, once again, welcome to everyone for this edition of the Bluecopa Webinars. Today we discuss a very interesting topic and probably the talk of the hour across the whole globe, which is generative AI and its particular use case in finance, and is it considered a boon or bane, especially from a financial standpoint. Right now, coming back to the generative AI and the topic. So we have two speakers today, Ruchi and Raghava. So Ruchi is an established leader in the financial space. Ruchi has worked with marquee organizations like MongoDB, Confluent, and has led teams across these organizations. Ruchi is an expert in financial transformation, building out financial processes, and also currently, she's heading the finance function at Singularity University. Something to note is that Ruchi is also heading the information security or IT team of Singularity University, which means that along with finance, the digital transformation that's happening, Ruchi is at the pinnacle of it, at the intersection of it, so that she can, she's probably one of the role models where you see that CFO and CIOs come together to become one single personality, right? So welcome, Ruchi. Welcome to the webinar.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Along with Ruchi, we have Raghava. Raghava is the co-founder of Bluecopa. Along with being a co-founder, Raghava is also one of the established leaders in the Indian financial space. Raghava has again worked with a lot of marquee organizations like Wipro, Hewlett-Packard, working on enterprise business in the segment. And Raghava was also the head of lending business unit at Open. And post that, Raghava has taken up the co-founder hat, the co-founder stint now, and is currently leading the operations and finance at Bluecopa. Welcome, Raghava.
Thank you, Guru.
Perfect. So I'll let you folks take it forward. I know there's a lot of interest in terms of what the first question and the rest of the questions are going to be as well. I do have some questions. I'll add that to the Q&A. So super excited.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Guru. And welcome, Ruchi. No, in fact, the reason for choosing this topic as well, right? In the last 4 to 5 webinars that we had, podcast, irrespective of the topic, one common thread that we have seen is that there's a lot of interest in understanding how AI is going to transform, finance function, particularly FP&A function, right? Given that's where most likely there could be disruption to start with. There's a lot of interest there, and then when we wanted to talk to leaders who are at the forefront of it, we felt there's no better person than you to understand this space. So really glad to have this conversation, right?
Well, I'm happy to be here.
Awesome, great. So while I know personally you are a strong believer in technology, ensuring there's a lot of automation that happens so that the whole finance function becomes very, very strategic in nature rather than having more focus on bookkeeping and things like that. I know your stand on this topic, but generally wanted to understand at a very high level, do you strongly believe AI is going to disrupt the finance function? And if not, or if it is, why do you think so? Probably we'll start there and then pick it up.
Sure. And just to set the stage, we have been hearing a lot about generative AI and LLM, all these buzzwords, right? And we've not heard enough about this impacting the finance industry. And that's why this topic and the audience, I hope, is very relevant and bring them up to speed on what we as finance leaders can do in AI. Just to give some fun fact, PwC actually last month itself committed about $1 billion to invest in generative AI. And that itself says quite a lot on how it's going to impact the finance industry. Gartner also said that in the next few years, the finance and cost of keeping finance is going to go down by 40%. So just imagine all of these investments and the anticipation of cost reduction. How is that going to happen, right? The only way this can happen is implementation and adoption of tools and technologies, and generative AI or LLM is going to be as impactful in the finance industry, in corporate finance, investment banking, or all other finance functions also. So I really believe, like you said, I'm a big proponent of technology and scalability and automation. And this is going to be an excellent ad to make us better finance professionals. I think, Raghava, are you on mute?
Okay, sorry. So you have seen,
there you go.
you have seen companies at different stages, right? You have seen companies from 0 to 1, 1 to 100, and you have taken companies public as well. Data structures generally are way different in each of these organizations, right? It's probably not very structured in the initial period. As companies mature, as companies go public, right? You will see more and more structured data and things like that. One major, point that comes up in our conversations with a lot of CFOs is that the data needs to be clearer, accurate for finance function to get disrupted with technologies like AI and things like that. There is also a belief that data accuracy will get enhanced with tools like AI, right? Because that's it. Large volumes of data cannot be, cleaned by somebody sitting and doing things manually, right? Just wanted to understand, given you manage data also very, very efficiently along with technology, what are some of the things that you think on the data front AI can help us with? What are some of the gaps that you see in the data that you think should be the initial points that should be picked up from an AI standpoint?
Yeah. So I think data is the backbone of any kind of AI, right? It's the data that determines the use of the AI. And think of it this way, like it's garbage in, garbage out. If you are not putting in good data in the model, you're not going to get good analytics and good predictive modeling out of it, right? So data absolutely has to be good, but then at different stages of the company. So let's talk about a smaller company, right? 0 to 10 or 50 individuals, where you're still trying to figure out product market fit. That at that point, the folks in that company will not have that much sense of how to build the data, how to utilize data, how to do predictive and analytics. They are more focused on the product market fit at that point. But utilizing AI and leveraging the benefits of AI to keep that data cleansed is excellent add to AI. Similarly, when in the mid-market or a mid-sized company, you have way too much data, right? So
Correct.
How do you make sure that data is structured in the right way so that you're not always struggling to produce reports, produce any kind of analytics, just do simple KPIs also. So again, there's a good use of AI, and leveraging that benefits is going to help you structure the data that's all over the place. And as you scope up and scale into a bigger organization, you have way too much data. You have customer data, you have product data, you have marketing data, all kinds of data, HR and staffing data. How do you organize these things, right? So data definitely is going to be a big part of how we build our AI models and how we leverage the benefits of it. So one thing that I would say to our audience here is, don't be scared of data. Leverage the data benefits that you get from adding AI capabilities, and you don't have to go all in. Use simple AI structures, simple modeling techniques to structure your data. And once you have those simple things inputted in your data models, you'll be awed to see the benefits that you get, the savings in terms of time, in terms of cost, in terms of efficiency, and your better predictability that comes out of it. So data is, for me personally, also running technology, running accounting and finance, data is our backbone. So we have to be friendly with data and not be scared of data.
Super, amazing, very well said. In fact, at Bluecopa as well, right? We started leveraging AI to identify any anomalies in data, right? Gaps in the data and predicting what could actually be filled in those gaps. For example, most of the invoices sometimes, right? In most of the organizations, there could be missing city, missing PIN code, missing, say HSN code if it's an Indian entity and things like that. Reading the content, identifying probably this is the HSN code, or probably this is the city and things like that. I've seen a lot of traction, like you rightly said. right? There is a lot of fear around data. If some data is missing, how to treat it? Right? Do we really use the data because there are some missing pieces here and there? So do we dump it and do all the things manually? I think AI is to some extent, would help us address those missing pieces as well. Again,
Yeah, I think one more thing I'll just add to that is people get scared when they hear the term AI. But then you have to step back and think of it. It's just another tool and technology, right? When Excel came, people were like, oh, okay, how am I going to use these spreadsheets, right? It's just Excel on steroids, I would say.
Absolutely. Very well said. So the again follow up to this, right? Now finance function is also quite broad. There is FP&A function that does multiple things, right? In addition to crunching the data, planning, budgeting, forecasting, analytics, all of that. And then there is a controller team also that takes care of reconciliations, bookkeeping, taxation, and things like that. From a use case standpoint, right? From an early adoption of AI, which say is it the FP&A function or is it the controller function according to you that should take the lead in this journey? Also, what are some of the use cases that you think are low hanging fruits and people should start with, before they get really used to the whole technology and transformation?
Yeah. So let me separate out these questions a little bit more so that I can give more context to that. One of the ways we should think about technology adoption is just one function's technology adoption is not going to reap the benefits of that technology. You have to be very open-minded and adopt technology on a bigger scale. So let's take accounting, for example. If my AP team is leveraging technology and utilizing AI to do their AP processing, doing cash reconciliations, but none of the GL function is taking benefit of that AI or modeling or automations, then that benefit is not going to flow through the organization. It has to be across the organization, the adoption. Similarly, on the FP&A side, if I'm just doing forecasting for, let's say, the marketing team and leveraging data there and AI there, that benefit is not going to flow throughout the organization because engineering is still doing their stuff in Excel or sales is still doing stuff in Excel, right? So one of the things I do want to highlight is the adoption of AI and how it should be across the entire function and not bits and pieces of the function. And second, to answer your question about use cases, like myself, I've used smaller versions of AI. I've not gone all in, but I've definitely used smaller versions of AI in predictive analytics, especially in the forecasting, right? We are a smaller company right now, but we want to be at 100 multiple, 200 multiple in a few years. How do I get there? So this is where I've leveraged predictive analytics from AI, where I have had done multiple scenario planning. What happens when certain kind of markets change? What is the impact of economic uncertainties, right? Economic downturns or supply chain market? How can we leverage the supply chain data that we've got and make sure that our supply chain does not get impacted if we are in a bigger manufacturing business, right? So those are some of the use cases. Also, adaptability to change the product mix. If you are seeing in the middle of the quarter that you're not meeting your targets, right? So go back and see what are the customers reacting to. What are the sales guys saying that, hey, I'm not able to sell this product, but this is selling well. So change your product market mix, right? Change the product mix, change your pricing. And you can do these changes very quickly if you have this kind of foresight and the tools to support it. That if I change a product A with product B and reduce pricing, what is the impact going to be? And this is where you can leverage the benefits of AI for doing this faster, better, and more accurate. On the accounting side, you can do multiple, like you can close your books through AI. Get AI to process your invoices faster. Get AI to pay your vendors faster. Do accruals faster. Instead of taking 10 days to close your books, you will be done with 3 days, right? So leverage all those technologies. And one more example where I have used AI, actually two of them, marketing and sales. Like sales quota and territory planning is a big part in the FP&A function. Like obviously bigger companies have bigger teams for that don't roll into a CFO, maybe rolling into the CRO, but smaller companies do. So doing those kind of analytics where you can measure the achievements, the quota attainments, all of those things faster is a big benefit of leveraging AI in the finance organization. I have many more use cases, but we can get to it if people have questions to that.
Amazing. And also, closing books on second and third is something I'm sure a lot of CFOs would really dream of. Hopefully,
Absolutely.
Awesome. From your personal standpoint, right, as a CFO, your major, day-to-day time spent would be on assessing the risks and ensuring you mitigate the risks the right way, right? Given a lot of things happen in the organization, how do you ensure the ROIs are taken care, right? How do you ensure one product suddenly do not go down? You're not way off from what is committed to board and things like that. From a CFO standpoint, right? What are those top 2-3 areas that you think from a risk mitigation standpoint, you can leverage technologies like AI?
Thinking of risk mitigation, first you have to be fully aware of where your risks are, right? And how do you identify those risks? If you are in the investment banking, right, having the predicting risks and like SVB fallout, like the Silicon Valley fallout, right? That was a big event nobody expected. But having that visibility, having that foresight is going to be very, very important. So how do you measure those risks? How do you identify those risks? This is where I would say technology is at its best, right? You can create scenarios that if I have 100 million sitting aside, where can I invest it? What's my risk? What are the product portfolios I should look at? While keeping your operational metrics going. So having key KPIs, identifying those key KPIs, looking at them with the leadership on a weekly, on a very frequent basis is going to keep you on top of your game. And then as soon as you see if things are not falling in place, this is where you leverage your technology. This is where you go back to your models and say, hey, was our model wrong? Was our assumptions wrong? Or did we get everything wrong and we're just not able to deliver, right? And quick change to that is going to help you mitigate that risk and also alert your shareholders or your board that, hey, this is what we thought, but because of XYZ things, we are not able to deliver. So that a corrective action can be taken very quickly, right? So that's from a KPI and risk perspective. Investment banking is a big part of it. Financial services is a big part of it, right? Leveraging AI and modeling can help those financial services investment bankers make the right decisions for their clients and beef up their portfolio, right? So leveraging those things and eliminating those risks ahead of time is going to be a big part of it.
Super. That makes a lot of things very clear, right? So, one more question on the follow-up of what you said on risk mitigation, all of that, right? So to bring in tools for mitigating risk, right, there could be two challenges, right? One is to identify the right kind of tools that will be needed. Second is upskilling the resources in the organization to ensure everybody is aligned to the vision of the organization, which is ensure there is a lot of automation, take the advantage of technology, and you, like you said, how do you scale to 100x, 200x in a couple of years from now or a few years from now, right? So there's always this ROI thing which comes in from a CFO standpoint, right? And tools like, say, investments on technologies like AI might not yield immediate returns. Say you fetch in as a marketing solution or a finance solution, you get to see the return, say, from the next week itself. Whereas technologies like AI, you implement it and then adoption also takes some time. So how do leaders like you should assess from an ROI standpoint, and what are some of the tricks and tips that you have for folks like me, in fact?
So I'll give you like my personal framework of how I look at tools. Like I have 4 questions that I ask any business user, and this is like AI is not just limited to finance, right? AI can be leveraged in any department. So what are we trying to achieve? Why are we trying to achieve? How much is it cost? Is it going to cost us? And what's the benefit that I will see? What, why, when, and how, right? So just these 4 questions, if you ask any business users, if they are able to answer that, then yes, they have thought through the process, they have thought through the technology, and they have good reasons for the adoption. So if that should be always the first questions that you ask any business user who comes in, hey, I want to implement, let's say Bluecopa, right? I want to implement Bluecopa in my organization. So, okay, fair, that's a good tool. We should implement it, but then help me answer these questions. So what am I trying to achieve? Bluecopa, I'm just taking Bluecopa as an example, but I'm happy to take other examples too. But what are we trying to achieve? We want to streamline and produce metrics and data in an organized fashion, right? And why are we trying to achieve? Because today it takes my team 10 days to produce a KPI, and I have lost those 10 days to make any strategic decision, right? So it's a solid reason why we should implement something. How are we going to implement it? So that is where the questions come back is it going to take additional resource for me? Is it going to take time away from key projects that the company is working on? So those kind of questions you need to be able to answer. And when are we trying to achieve? It's always we should have implemented it 10 years ago, right? That's always the case. We are already too late. But then you have to be realistic about these things. If you answer these 4 questions and you have enough reasoning why you're trying to achieve that, then I don't question it. That's my philosophy of how I look at tools. And definitely, like being a big proponent of technology and automation, like the new buzzword is also autonomous finance nowadays, where you want to do a lot of, you want tools and technology to do a lot of work for you. Like, get rid of the mundane tasks. Say if you need someone to collect data, key in data, analyze data, if it's the same data each month, get tools to do it. Why do you need a resource to do it? And on the flip side, train your resources to be more data friendly, more technology friendly. This is an excellent place to upskill the skill set of your teams and organization. So I would say looking at tools and technology, adoption has to come from the top. Like as leaders, we should be very open to adopting technology, and don't be afraid. If leaders are afraid that, oh, it's going to take away my head count, or it's going to reduce my team, I don't think that's the right approach. People should be thinking more about bringing in efficiency and how can you make your team A players instead of them being just data entry players. That's the approach people should look at.
Amazing. That also shows why you have been choosing a lot of automation tools, right? Like you rightly said, rather than cost optimization, it's more about how do you make your team a team and then ensure you beat the competition out there. Amazing insights there. Again, within finance function, right? If you look from a tool adoption standpoint, there have been ERPs which have been there for quite some time, and then predominantly it's Excel, and there are not many solutions out there, unlike the tools in say marketing function or the sales function, or say dev side functions, all of that. So, from a technology adoption standpoint, while it's very, very useful, given the amount of data that's being generated, given the the insights it can generate, given it has the potential to make the whole finance function strategic, there is going to be some change needed from a skill set standpoint, particularly from everybody should start from data lens, right? Either the FP&A side or the controller side. What, according to you, right, are the key skill sets that people should develop, say, in the next 3-4 years for them to be very, very relevant and take the advantage of the technology, Ruchi?
Okay, so first of all, I do want to say that there is a fear, especially at the accountant level or the financial analyst level, that, hey, my job is going to go away if AI is coming, because a lot of tasks that these guys do are repetitive tasks and can be easily, like at one point, RPA, robotic process automation, was a big buzzword which scared people away, right? And similarly, yes, to some extent, there are jobs that will get impacted, but this is your opportunity to upskill your personal skill set, right? Be more data literate, be more critical thinking that, yes, I have this set of data. What can I do with this data? If you're just presenting that I've compiled this data, but there is no story that you're telling about that data, then yes, there is a reason why your job might be at risk. But then if you come up, look at data and say that, yes, this is the story I think will make sense. Be more strategic thinker. You don't have to be a CFO to be a strategic thinker. You can be an AP person and look at your payments and be a strategic thinker. An example could be like a particular vendor. If we have a very regular vendor and we are paying that vendor on net 30 terms, be a strategic thinker and think about it and say, hey, Mr. Vendor, if I pay you net 20 terms, will you give me a discount, right? So instead of paying you $100, if I pay you within 20 days, will you take 95 for 100, right? It's better cash management. Now, this doesn't need to be a strict CFO to make that decision. You have just saved the company $5, which is cash in your pocket. That cash can be used somewhere else to either create better product or to generate more revenue or to do an offsite, right? That is just cash in your pocket. So things like this, be critical thinking, use your skill set to do these smaller decisions. And how do you get to that? Is you always had that data. Now you're just leveraging that data to make better decision making, right? So simple things, critical thinking can be very helpful. Be more open to collaborate with the AI tools. Don't be afraid of that. Bring in more business acumen. Like, AI is ultimately a tool and technology that will behave as you design it to behave. The best part is it will not have a bias, right? It's not going to say, oh, I like, as a human, when you're looking at data, you can say, I like these particular set of customers, so I'm going to be biased towards it. But if you put the same logic into AI is not going to be biased, and maybe they'll find that amongst these customers, this is a problem customer. Let's not talk to those guys that much, or let's not sell it to them that much, right? So having that critical thinking approach is really going to help people. So these are the skill sets I really think people should start building.
Super. So like you rightly said, there is a lot of repetitive manual work that happens, which should ideally get automated, right? which means, with automation, there is going to be some bandwidth which would open up from a finance organization standpoint. So how do you see the roles and responsibilities changing? So today, say the 60-70% of the time gets into consolidating the data, slicing, dicing, figuring out insights and things like that. Now, most of that would get automated. Like you said,
Yeah.
insights are there. Storytelling would become a part of the whole, discussion going forward. Where do you think larger chunk of the 60-70% of the time would be spent, right? Which means what changes in the roles and responsibilities do you think would happen going forward?
Yeah, so I think, like I said, all those mundane and repetitive tasks will essentially go away. That's why Gartner said that there will be a 40% reduction in the finance costs, right? And that is where the biggest chunk of savings are going to be. Now, where we see more time being spent is on predictive analytics, right? Like I said about cash forecasting. If you have enough data, you can design the models to say that at what point do I need how much cash. It can go into more robust cash management, more robust forecasting, more robust sales and revenue forecasting, and OPEX as well, right? Your software cost, hold on, I think my... Give me 1 second. My bid defender is asking me to restart. There you go, technology, right? All of a sudden, it's asking me to restart. But going back to where the savings are going to be and where the skill set is going to move is more on the analysis and analytics and more conceptual and contextual thinking. So especially from a finance perspective, on the accounting side, I do see AR, AP, credit and collections, those kind of tasks are going to go away. Consolidations also, to some extent, reconciliations would go away, because if it is repetitive task month after month, you can train models. But where the time is going to be spent is when you're putting your 10K, 10Q together, right? Where you're putting together the MDA section of your report, especially for public companies, or where you're putting the board deck together, where you're putting more value and insights that you bring in. On the FP&A side also, data analysis is going to be big. What's the new product that I can help my product team come up with? What's the new ICP? What's my ideal customer that I can build? What's the market I should go? Geographic market. Those are just simple things that will get more and more valuable and insights.
Super, very interesting, points there. Say somebody who is starting, say, at an analyst level in finance organization who wants to take the advantage of, AI or technology in general, there is always this inherent fear of technology, like you rightly said. That's definitely a challenge. Where do you think people should ideally start with? Probably, they'll need to pick up the initial smaller pieces and then build on top of, whatever they have learned, right? Where do you think the user should start, and what challenges do you think they might face? Either, the organization they work might not be very, very adaptive from a technology standpoint, right? What are some of those challenges do you think finance users might have, and how do you suggest them to navigate the whole thing, Ruchi?
So treat your tools, technology as your friend and not as your foe. That's the first mindset shift I would ask people to do. Like, like I talked about Excel. Excel is your friend. No finance person. I still use Excel on a daily basis, I would say, even for simple things, right? So treat technology as your friend. That's the first advice I will give. Secondly, learn how to do storytelling. Even with a small set of data, you can create a story. Like the example I talked about in AP, right? It's a simple exercise, but it tells you the story, and you get more valuable insight when you do that. So first of all, as an analyst, absolutely data is your best friend, but how to design, define, integrate that data into the bigger picture is the biggest skill set you can gain. So don't be afraid of data, and don't think of yourself as just a data analyst or a financial analyst. Think of yourself as a storyteller who has a very good grasp of what the data means. You already have an advantage because you already have a skill set of how to deal with data. The only thing you need to add is storytelling. And on the flip side, think of it this way, that people who are good at storytelling does not have the backup of data. So you already are ahead of those guys. So just leverage one more skill and learn that.
Super, amazing. We have a lot of questions from the audience. One last question, and then, we'll open up Q&A, right?
Sure.
One trend that we have seen, people like you who have been CFOs for quite some time in established organizations have been taking up the technology side roles as well, right? In fact, in the last couple of weeks, we met 3 CFOs who are now heading both the technology and the finance function. How is that, right? Given you've been spending a lot of time on finance and then suddenly technology comes in, do you see that as a trend going forward as well, or what are some of the benefits that organizations would get by clubbing these 2 roles?
So I would say one of the changing mindset of CEOs, boards nowadays is that CFO is no longer just a numbers person. You are not going to the CFO just to get, okay, how did we do this quarter, or what's my revenue, what is my OPEX, what's my profit, right? CFOs are considered strategic partners. And how do those strategic partners come into play is because, I wouldn't say CFOs generally only has that, but CFO has that business mindset along with the financial backing, which makes it more valuable insight for the CEOs and the board, right? That when a CFO is doing a strategic decision making, they have that financial mindset that if I do X, Y is going to be my result. But if I do Y, Z is going to be my result, right? So they have that financial mindset. Along with that, because they have managed the OPEX for the company, they know what it would take for a company to be successful, what kind of technology is going to be best, how to scale, and how to operationally make the company more efficient. And that's not limited just on the finance side. Like I've implemented CRM, Salesforce, or HubSpot. This is not a finance function. But because of the fact that I understand the whole value chain, the business cycle of how a quote is generated, what does my customer need, what products I need to put in, where is the pricing coming in, what kind of market segments I need to break in. And along with that, training to the sales guys, right? Ultimately, CFOs are responsible for sales comp. So that's one way of thinking of it. That's why leveraging CFOs to become more strategic partner. And that's why you'll also see a lot of CFOs taking on the technology section of the company as well. Now, we have to be careful in how we bifurcate technology and engineering.
Correct.
Because engineering is about the core product that the company is building, the research and development and the core engineering. But technology, which is the information technology and the skill set that IT brings, is more about running the company in an efficient way. That's the part that CFOs are taking in. And I do see more and more CFOs putting on that hat of the holistic approach on how do I make my company more efficient, more effective, at a cost that I can afford, because there is a cost aspect also associated. And that's where if the CFO says we cannot afford it, it has more value than a CMO coming and saying we cannot afford it, right? So that's why having that holistic approach and strategic thinking has really helped CFOs take in more charge of these things.
Super. This is very fascinating trend, right? Very, very interesting to see this, convergence of both technology and finance function. Amazing, Ruchi. I
Yes.
think quite insightful. You give real practical, tips for people to pick up technology. There are a lot of Q&A that we got from audience. Guru, you want to pick it up?
So I'm just bringing up the screen. I hope you folks can see it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Perfect. So we start with the first one, which is financial services are heavily regulated, and any new technologies, including the generative AI, must adhere to regulatory requirements. So how do we navigate this?
Well, actually, I would say that, if you build in those regulatory requirements already in your generative AI models, you've already solved the purpose. Then you don't need to worry about being compliant with the regulations or not, right? So
Right.
that's the beauty of AI. Once you've inputted that, okay, for a certain investment product, these are the requirements and these are the compliance regulations. If you input that already in your model, you will never have to worry about it because your model is always going to give you the answers which are compliant. So I would say it's actually another benefit of having these models because you can feed in your accounting requirements, your accounting guidance, and all of those things ahead of time and let them do the regulatory compliance for you.
Right. Right. So pardon me for going deeper on this question a little further, which is now with this regulations being compliant and other stuff, right? So there's a need for a development or an engineering function to exist within the financial team or a financial department to take this further, which is again another cost effort, right? So in a way, we say that generative AI is going to reduce costs, it's going to save you money, but at the end of the day, we end up also going towards hiring or probably focusing towards more resources in terms of engineering. So where does this balance come in, and what's your take on that bit?
So I would say it's not just engineering. So any organization should have a concept of a business systems analyst or a business systems person in their finance organization. Right. And the role of that business systems person is to understand your business requirements and be a liaison with your information technology and how do you implement it, right? So this is not a new role or a new requirement in companies. Where companies are already tech savvy and technology adoption is big on that, generally this role always exists. And that is where I see that, okay, let's say financial services, if you're in investment banking, right? So you already have these rules identified by your portfolio managers. Now you have to be able to put those rules in the system so that when you're leveraging that technology, that rules are already in. And that is where your business systems person comes in, because they are supposed to understand what my business is, what my requirements are, and what's the best technology to solve for it.
Right.
So I don't think this is an additional resource. Yes, you have to have that resource to upskill their skill set to be more adaptable and aware of new generative AI technologies. But this role already exists in a lot of organizations.
Got it. So this is more like an addition to the existing responsibility of the said analyst, right?
Correct. Think of it as yet another tool and technology that you are putting on them, right? It's nothing new.
Got it. Perfect.
Well,
all right, so let's go with the next one. Oh, quite fancy. Will generative AI be on-premise tech or cloud? I think this is more again related to regulations and stuff.
Yeah, I think it depends. Right now, it's on the cloud, but as generative AI becomes more widespread and more of an enterprise tool, it can be available on-prem or on cloud. I do believe that the industry is going more and more towards cloud because one, it's easier to adopt. Cost of cloud is much cheaper than being on-prem. flexibility on updates and upgrades on software is much more on cloud than on on-prem. But as companies come up with more generative AI tools, they will be able to give both solutions.
Got it.
Super.
Perfect. All right. Okay.
Next is an interesting question.
Yeah. Most finance folks, including me, are not that good with tech, especially with AI products. Okay. Will future finance folks be trained in these things? I think we sort of covered this, but yeah, I would love to hear what you think.
Hey, none of us are great at tech, I would say. Like, we all start somewhere. Think of it, when you started with Excel, did you really know all the formulas? Did you know how to create pivot tables? But we learned, right? Similar with AI, I would say I do use AI, but I'm not a pro at it. So it's all about use and learn. The more you use it, the more you learn. And I'm sure as AI becomes more mainstream, there will be enough courses. Like, there are people who are dying to train you on these things. So I'm sure there will be more courses coming our way.
Absolutely. I get about 20-30 YouTube ads on how to use ChatGPT.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a skill that you learn as you use it.
Right. Got it. Perfect. So in finance, mostly we struggle with data volumes and quality. Can generative AI help with maintaining data quality as well? Yeah.
Absolutely. I would say data is the backbone for any kind of AI model. And I think Raghav mentioned this also, tools like Bluecopa are also helping you cleanse and maintain the data quality. But yes, you have to keep an eye on what you're feeding it and what you're getting out of it. Like I mentioned, garbage in, garbage out. If you feed garbage in your NetSuite, Intact, or Oracle system, you are going to get garbage out. So you have to have some sense of maintaining data hygiene. The beauty is you don't have to go all in. There are tools out there that helps you maintain that quality.
Right. So the overall AI adoption across, let's say, marketing, sales, and other functions as well is further going to streamline this whole data sanity as an effort, as opposed to, right? For example, you as a CFO would have seen so many times where sales leader is going behind the sales teams to fill their CRM information and everything. So that data quality has been a huge problem, right? I mean, being a marketer, I know how big of a problem that is. So all of this now with AI helping you to automatically populate all the CRM fields, helping you populate marketing information as well. So it's a lot easier for you to now build forecast. Okay, how much are we going to make this quarter, next quarter, and so on.
One of the things I had read recently was in one of the surveys, the CFOs answered that they are going to be willing to accept a 10% variance if a human has created a model, but they'll only accept 2 to 3% variance if an AI is creating a model. So imagine how much trust we are putting in AI to be right, to be exact, and to identify variance at such small variance
margins.
range.
Yeah. So high standards are
very high standards. We are putting a lot of high standards, and there is a reason, because we trust that if there is a data trend which is in 20s and all of a sudden you see something in the 80s, yes, there is something that will be identified right away, right? That tells you that data quality will be maintained.
Got it. Perfect. Should companies buy the ChatGPT license or use it for free?
Okay, so this is a very tricky question. The way I will answer is, if you're going to use ChatGPT and put any kind of your company information, then do not use the free version, because you're exposing your company's data to the world. An example could be you just put in your customer list in ChatGPT and asks it to do research. You right away gave this data to the world, your competition. your sales guys who are not responsible, everything, you've just exposed it. Instead, go ahead and invest in a paid version of ChatGPT or any kind. Well, let me not sell ChatGPT, but any kind of AI model, so
Right.
that you know your privacy, data security is all maintained.
Right.
This is something which companies and users have to be super careful. But if you're asking ChatGPT, oh, help me put a policy together for XYZ, then yes, it's a generic question. You're not exposing your company's data to the world, and you can use the free version for that.
Got it. I think this is more or less on the same lines. My leader is not tech savvy. If I go propose to purchase GPT-3, his thought is I'm trying to do less work. How do we change this mentality?
Well, the best part about this is I just gave you a framework. Why, when, how, and what do you need, right? So try and answer these things and show them the benefit that it's not that I'm trying to do less work, but my quality of work will be much higher. I'll be able to do my work much faster, and because of which my results are gonna be, instead of 10 days, I can produce those results in 3 days. So I have 7 days to do another project.
Right. And also on a funny note, I think you should probably change your leader, not the mentality. Because Ruchi,
well, this is your opportunity to convince your leader to be more tech savvy, right?
That's true.
You can also show them examples of what your leader is spending time on, and how can you help them conserve that time, use that time more efficiently. This goes back to my storytelling example, and be a strategic thinker, that if you tell a story backing it up with data, you will be able to sell that concept much faster.
Right.
I think the framework that you said is quite interesting. Anything would fit into that. Somebody really wanting to convince, I think, as long as you answer those 4 questions more objectively.
I think we should change the thumbnail to Gen AI in business and remove finance, because the framework is
it's very, for sure.
Amazing. In fact, Guru, we should have had this 1.5 hour webinar at least, rather than 1 hour. I think a lot of questions are still unanswered.
I think I misjudged the enthusiasm for this topic.
Hopefully we'll have part 2 of this.
Yeah. Ruchi, let's plan a part 2.
Super.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thanks, Ruchi. Thanks, Guru. Have a good day. Bye.